Good evening, everybody. My name's Andy Calvert. I'm an assistant head teacher at Ilkley Grammar School, and welcome to the first YouTube live event for the cohort. That's going to be our blue ties that are joining us in September. A particular welcome to any of the young people that are listening in as well. And also particular welcome to all the new parents, and particularly those where your child is the first one to come through Ilkley Grammar School. I can see that there's about 50 odd people listening to us here. I actually started these YouTube live events in lockdown. If you told me then that I was going to be on YouTube live talking to a screen like this, like most people who at that time, I would have laughed a little bit. But they did prove really popular, and it's something actually that we've decided to keep on. Just a few ground rules. The chat bar is open. I think Mrs. Hesse and Mrs. Varley are listening in as well, and they will do what they can to answer any questions that you put in the chat bar. This is pretty largely unscripted, so although this evening I'm talking about school organisation and learning, I will react to questions on the chat bar. I try to keep it to sort of half an hour, 35 minutes, because I'm sure you get bored of listening to me that long. It's actually been really lovely to meet some of the young people. We were down at Burley Oaks yesterday. We've visited Westville, we've been to Asquith, and we've been to All Saints. We've been to Burley Woodhead already, and it's really lovely to start to meet the young people that will be joining us, and their vibrancy, their enthusiasm is really great to see. Just please try and interact with this. The reason we use YouTube live is just simply because it's the easiest way to kind of get this out to everybody, and you don't have to have accounts and so on, and everyone can listen to this. It is recorded, and the recording will be made available onto the school YouTube channel pretty much as soon as it's finished. So if you do want to listen to the whole thing again, then you can do. Onwards and upwards, really. Just a reminder from me. I've actually put a few things on the chat bar there. If there are any specific questions, I obviously can't answer those that easily online here. So please do use the transition@ilkleygs.co.uk email account and email any questions in. Mrs. Varley will mop those up and get back to you as soon as we possibly can. I won't talk about everything this evening. I can't possibly do. There are 4 events. So there's one tonight, one on Thursday, one next Tuesday, and one next Thursday. This one's about school organisation and learning. Next one on Thursday is about sort of pastoral care and IGS life as such, safeguarding and so on. That's what that one will be about. And then on next Tuesday will be, what I will try and do next Tuesday is kind of frame some of the questions that have come up as we've been talking about these, and just try and do any mop up, and that's really kind of turn it over to the floor for any individual questions for you that you may want to ask us. And then on the Thursday is really just a rerun of the roadshow events that we've been doing at the primary schools, and that's for anybody that has missed the primary school roadshows, either because we haven't visited their primary school or they were away that day. So that one's really for the children next Thursday to look at that. So just a few things just about the school. What I want to say is the school is part of a learning trust now, and just some of the organisation of the school. We do have a CEO, Helen Williams, who's our ex-head teacher. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Moorlands Learning Trust, and a lot of people hear that. There's actually just 2 schools at the minute, ourselves and the Skipton Academy, which is a much smaller school than ours, and we've been supporting those for about 3 years now to help them improve. So if you do hear people talking about TSA as such, that's the Skipton Academy, and our CEO is responsible for all that, and there's also a group of trustees as well. What's more important, obviously, for you joining Ilkley Grammar School is our head teacher, Mrs. Pennell, who did the presentation with me back in March now. And obviously she's the head teacher of Ilkley Grammar School. And then just underneath her, just so you understand how the leadership team works, there's 3 deputy head teachers: Mr. Gutch, who's responsible for post 16, Miss Clawton, who's responsible for curriculum and learning, and then Mr. Ford, who is my boss, and he's responsible for the pastoral side of school as deputy head teachers. And then there's a number of assistant head teachers. Myself, my role in school is obviously this one, transition, making sure I'm responsible for Key Stage 3, which is year 7, 8 and 9. And I'm also responsible for a few other things in school behaviour and attitudes and that sort of thing, helping Mr. Ford. Then we've got Miss Capstick, who's responsible for learning. She's an assistant head teacher as well. Mrs. Mackenzie, who eventually, in 3 years' time, once they've been through my team in Key Stage 3, Mrs. Mackenzie is responsible for Key Stage 4, so year 10 and 11. And she's also responsible for pupil premium and vulnerable students as well. Mr. Keane, who's our Senko, is an assistant head teacher as well. And he obviously runs the inclusive learning area. And if there are any specific questions about inclusive learning, make sure that they go through the inclusive learning at ilkleygs.co.uk email address. I do know we're a little bit behind with those things, and please accept my apologies for that. We will do everything we can to make sure that that inclusive learning transition is brought up to speed, and I'll talk about that next Thursday, just on how we're going to do those things. So please just bear with us on that. And then the last member of the leadership team is Mrs. Hepworth, who's the behaviour and outreach worker. Mrs. Hepworth's actually not a teacher. She works really closely with me on safeguarding. So that's the kind of leadership team and the trust level. There's a local governing body as well that's responsible for Ilkley Grammar School. And I think what I would say right at the beginning here is the leadership team are really passionate about the job we do in school and the school that we work in. I've been at Ilkley Grammar School for 22 years, and I'm sure actually looking at this, I probably taught 1 or 2 of you, which is a bit strange for me and shows how old I am. My hair's a little bit less than it used to be, maybe. But, it's important to recognise the reason that I've stayed at the Ilkley Grammar School for such a long time is, it's such a lovely school to work in. The children are absolutely fantastic, as are the staff. And it's, you joining the school, I hope you'll see that passion that there is in the leadership team to make us, even better, that exceptional learning environment. Just underneath that, just from an organisational point of view, just so you understand the scale of the school, every area there's also a group of what are called associate assistant head teachers who have an individual role. For example, there's one for e-learning, there's one for diversity, there's one for careers and outreach and so on. So there are other people that work in there, and we're actually getting 2 new assistant head teachers that will join us as well because of the growth in numbers. There's 2 new assistant head teachers that will join us, one for data and one to help out with the post-16 team, which is is a really big group of students in school. Each curriculum area then has its own leader. So there's a maths curriculum leader, there's a PE curriculum leader, there's an English curriculum leader, and so on. And I think what would be useful for you to understand is that if there is a curriculum issue and something that you need to know about, the curriculum leaders are a good point of contact to ensure that any queries get resolved there. Bigger curriculum areas also have heads of department, so there might be someone that's a head of history, a head of geography, and so on. And then you've got the teaching staff, which again are an absolutely passionate bunch, work incredibly hard for the young people in our care to make sure that we get the very, very best outcomes for everyone we can. And one of the things I said to the young people is the motto of the school is together we achieve our personal best, and I was pushing them on what personal best meant, and actually that whole idea of a PB, making sure that you're getting better and better each time you do it and you're striving for that excellence that we need. And then pastorally, and I'll explain more of this on Thursday, but there's a head of year, and Mrs. Hesse will be the head of year 7 next year. She's currently the head of year 11, and she's been to all the primary schools with me, so the young people have met the I've met Mrs. Hesse, and the one question they asked is, who is there to support me when I'm struggling a little bit. And Mrs. Hesse is the person for that. She's a non-teacher, so she works full time as head of Year 7, and that's her entire role to do. And she's passionate about meeting them, and it's been lovely for all the young people to meet her when we've been to the primary schools. And then ably supported by Mrs. Varley, who's been off for some time, but is now back, and will be starting to visit some of the primary schools with us. I think she actually went to Moorfield this afternoon to meet the Moorfield children this afternoon, which is great for her to have her back underway. And she's really supports me on the transition process. And she's the person that when you email the transition.Ilkley Grammar School email account, it's her that's answering the emails for you. And again, she's worked on this system with me for such a long time, and there's nothing that we can't answer, so please pass those questions through. Just to give you an idea of the scale of Ilkley Grammar School, I asked the children how many people they thought would join in Year 7, and we got something from around sort of 100, and some people saying up to 500. It's actually currently about 319 young people are joining us in Year 7. So 319 young people from approximately 18 different primary schools. Some of them very big, like Burley Oaks and Ashlands. Some of them very small, like Asquith over the river, where we're just sending 2 or 3 students across to us. So it is important that you recognise the size of the organisation, and those 317 students will join a cohort across the whole school of around 2,100 young people. And that just gives you an idea of how big Ilkley Grammar School is. Again, I asked the young people how many staff they thought we had, and they actually had no idea, really, but we have approximately 250 staff that work with us in all sorts of different roles. So it's in, by far the biggest organisation in the Valley. It's a really important organisation in the Valley, and you're joining a very, very big team. And what my job is really to break that enormous sort of change where the students can go in from a very small primary school to a very big secondary school, and what I need to do is make sure that they do feel as an individual in such a big organisation. And the way we do that is the transition process, and it's breaking down the worries and concerns that the young people have. We meet them on the road shows, which we're doing at the minute, but there's also the welcome day as well, which is on the 14th of July. I will be writing to you all with details of that. I just need to finalise a few details with the bus companies and 1 or 2 other staff. At that event, hopefully, the student will meet their tutor. What we're doing in the background is we're breaking up that 317 students into 11 tutor groups. So there are 11 tutor groups in school of approximately 28 children in each group, and we've attached a tutor to them. Some of those tutors are our current Year 11 tutors who've dropped back down and will pick a Year 7 group up, and that's the way things normally work. If the tutor stays with us, they will take their tutor group all the way through school. So some of those staff have just had 5 years with one tutor group, and they pick another tutor group up. We also do have new colleagues joining us as well. And my plan is, where possible, that the tutor on the welcome day, that you will meet your tutor. It's not always entirely possible, particularly if someone's working at another school, but that's our idea. And then in the evening, there's a welcome evening for parents as well. The head teachers and the deputies will do a presentation to you about the school. It will form a very sort of similar idea here. It's just coming from the top as such. And at the same time, you'll get the opportunity to meet the tutor if they're available for that evening as well. I can't guarantee it, but we've had a pretty good hit rate over the last few years prior to lockdown, because we've not run those things for the last 2 years, sadly. But when we did use them for the current year 9, they're incredibly important. Even you can just get a foothold and introduce yourself to your tutor and put those names to faces as well. With regards to how we choose the tutor groups, again, I explain this to the young people. We don't use the Harry Potter sorting hat. It's a really well planned. I'm working really closely with the people that know your young people well, which is their year 6 team at the primary school, and we're gathering data from them, meeting them regularly, gathering the data. And what I've got to do is try and balance and make sure that there are 11 even tutor groups. So and what we do that is balancing things like gender, ability, because they're mixed ability groups, and also trying to work out how we can build 11 new teams. Now, what I've said to the young people, and I hope they can relay this to you as well, what I've said to them is look at this as a real opportunity. And the head teacher has explained when we first met in March that where possible, everybody will have at least one friend in their tutor group. Now, if you come from a big primary school, that's actually quite easy. But I've asked the young people to think about that there are small numbers of students that they're actually the only one that's coming from that primary school. And I've said to them, please make sure that we involve those people as well. Because actually what I've got to do is retain good friendships, break up those ones that haven't worked at primary school, but most importantly, allow the children to forge new friendships. And I have a story for them. And I say to them, I met my best friend that I still have 30 years later. And I was actually sat next to him in the hall when I was in year 7, and I didn't know him. He came from a different primary school, and we're the best friends, all those years later. So I always say to them, their best friend may be in this room, and you actually don't know who it is yet. And they've taken that on board. So please try and work that through. The primary schools know your children best, and they are working with us to try and make sure that we have some options with regards to who we can put in different friendship groups, in different tutor groups, within that. With regards to just a bit more of the organisation there, where possible, the curriculum and timetabling team make sure that the tutor of that tutor group actually teach the children as well. So, for example, if one of the teachers if your tutor is a maths teacher, they will take the children for that. And that's to build that relationship with them, not just as the tutor, but as the tutor, as their teacher as well. And that bridges the gap between, tutor and teacher. And that we've found that really, really useful, because they can really build a really good relationship. It doesn't work sometimes if one of the tutors is primarily a key stage 5 or 6 form tutor. But again, we try where we can to ensure that the tutor teaches the child as well. All the teaching that we do in year 7 is mixed ability. And they're taught within the tutor group. So the tutor group follow around their timetable, which I'll talk about in a second, but they go from maths together, they go to English together, they go to science together, they go to history together, and so on. So that again helps to forge that really close link as a tutor group, and helps us to form good relationships within that tutor group. It also allows them some confidence that there's 28 of them all moving around the school at the same time as such, and they're all going to the same place. The maths team, once we get to know the students, once the maths team are looking at the possibility of setting for maths in year 7, we used to do that. We did that with the current year 9. We've not done it in the last 2 years because of lockdown, but the maths team are looking at that again. But the maths team are very good at making sure that the level of maths that gets delivered is matched clearly to the young person's ability. But also, if they are doing much better, then you can move up and down those sets as well. I've said to the young people, that's nothing to worry about at all. As they go through school, they get more of an idea that everybody can achieve really, really well, irrespective of where they are and the things that they're good at or not so good at. And again, I've said to them, really try and work on the things that you're not so good at, because that's how you get a really diverse and excellent education as you go forward. The other thing with regards to the tutor groups is Mrs. Pennell wrote in her letter, and thank you to all the people that have let us know, but some of the tutor groups are what learn French and some learn Spanish. Now, again, the reasoning behind why we did that is we really want the students to get really good at one language. If they're a very good linguist, as they go through the school, they can pick the other one up. But some of the tutor groups are taught French and some are taught Spanish. Now, it really won't make any difference to the vast majority of the students that are out there. But what we did ask you to do is please let us know. And the deadline, the strict deadline really needs to be by the end of the week, because we're trying to resolve that. And many of you have hit the original deadline. So please let us know with a matter of urgency if there is a specific and important reason why your child learns either French or Spanish. And a good reason for that is, you know, you may have someone that speaks Spanish at home, Spanish grandparents, and so on. There's all sorts of reasonable reasons, but it has to be a good one for us to actually choose them. And that's one of the caveats really why I put on the friendship, really, because again, what we can end up with is the primary school saying to me, Dave and Tommy, they work really well together, but actually one parent wants them in French and the other parent wants them in Spanish, and it's not going to work. So that's where we put where possible. It does work where possible for most students, and certainly they will be with a friend in their tutor group. But again, please, 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 as parents and the young people that are out there, try and listen to me about what I'm saying with regards to looking for opportunities to make new friends. There's a whole world of people out there. And yes, I understand that primary school friendships are really important. But what I do know, and as I took the young people with me that used to go to the primary school, because at the road shows I took 2 young people back with me to the primary schools. And the one thing they were saying is we were a little bit worried about that. But actually, I've now got friends from Addingham, from Menston, from Burley Woodhead, from All Saints, from Sacred Heart, from Moorfield, from Gilroyd, and so on. And I think that happens so quickly. So please just try and reinforce that if you can. Just to carry on, I'm just going to pause there just to remind that there's any questions, can just pop them into the chat bar. If there's anything that you need to know about anything, just please pop it in there. Try and keep it around the school organisation and learning questions, because I'll cover other things at a later date, but please pop them in there. So with regards to the timetable, we run a 2-week timetable. Most high schools do, actually. So there's a week A and a week B. So when we start in September, it will be week A. The following week, it's week B, then it's A, then it's B, then it's A, then it's B. If there's a holiday and we finish on a week A, we start on a week B. Okay, if we finish on a week B, we start on a week A. So the important thing is the students recognise that they have different things in different weeks so they need to get remembering what week it is, whether it's week A or week B, and we will help them to do that as we move forward. The one thing I've really pushed on them all, and I think this is something to, is organisation. I'll talk about travel on Thursday, but organisation and getting themselves organised. One of the TIE values, which we talked about in March with regards to the kind of things we want young people to try and demonstrate to us. One of the TIE values for Year 7 is organise. And organisation is so important, and I recognise that as a parent myself. My son's only 9, but you get those things dropped on you. They said, "Oh, I need this for today," and so on. It really is important that young people get used to packing their bag on the evening, making sure that it's ready to pick up in the morning. And if they need the PE kit or if they need food technology and so on, you're not running around the house first thing in the morning trying to find these things. So the organisation must go on to them. If there are students that struggle with organisation, that's what Mrs. Hess is there for, to support that organisation. And we have some organisation cards that we can work with young people to help them organise themselves, because I fully appreciate how complicated things are at high school when people start. But as I said to the young people, it doesn't take long to get used to the systems, and I did say to them, it's one of their big worries about getting lost And I said to him, look, there's two things that are going for you. First of all, you're all going to the same place. So the whole tutor group are going to the same place. So unless you get marooned by your tutor group, you're going to the same place as everybody else is. So that's a good thing. And the second thing, for the first fortnight at least, there's many staff such as myself that are out at every changeover of lessons and pointing them in the right direction. And I did say to them, and I don't think some of them believe me, but the open evening this year for next year's Year 7 is in October, and I would expect some of this year's Year 7 that are coming up to be able to show parents around. So within a month, easily within a fortnight, you're fairly used to getting around the place, but within a month, you're able to show people around. Yes, a very complicated site, but they so quickly get used to getting themselves around. The timetable is split up, so we need the students in. This may change slightly, but currently they need to be on site by 8:25. Sorry, 8:20, and the gates shut at 8:25. The timetable then goes period 1 and period 2. We do have double lessons, and particularly for PE. So just so you know, our PE facilities are off site if it's a double lesson down on the A65. So if they do have a double PE lesson, they're the ones that they tend to use off site. We have to bus the children down there, do their PE lesson and bus them back, which is why it needs to be done in a double. We do have PE facilities on site as well: the swimming pool, the sports hall, the gym, the outdoor facilities we have in school, and those can be used for single PE lessons. There are double lessons as well in maths and English sometimes as well. Just depends on how the timetable falls. So just prepare that. Each lesson's around 50-55 minutes. So there's lesson 1 and 2, then a break time, then lesson 3, and then they've got lunchtime. So it's fairly short and early lunch for them. Currently, they have their lunch around 11:40. They've got 45 minutes for lunch. I'll talk about the lunch procedures on Thursday with regards to parent pay and so on. But a short lunch, and then you've got period 4, 5, and 6. So it is quite a long afternoon. They finish at 3 o'clock. And then they can get themselves home. The only change to that is on a Wednesday when we finish at 2:30. So they have a short day on a Wednesday. So 3 o'clock finish Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, shortened day on a Wednesday. We use that for staff training. So they finish at 2:30. There may be a slight change to those times because we do need to find an extra half hour across the week from a government directive. So I will make sure that that's absolutely clarified for the welcome day, because it will have been resolved by then by the leadership team. But that's as it stands at the moment. The young people go from lesson to lesson. Those lessons are all taught by specialist teachers. So for example, I'm a science teacher. I would teach them science. Those science lessons are in specialist science labs. They go to a history teacher to be taught history, specialist PE teachers, specialist food technology teachers, specialist English teachers. And that's a big difference for them from a primary school, that they do have to meet around 15 teachers that they have each cycle as such, which is a week A and a week B is called a cycle. What it allows us to do is to maintain that, excellent learning, quality, high expectations in the classroom, and make sure they have opportunities to do things that you clearly can't do at primary school. From a science teacher point of view, the Bunsen burners come out, we can warm water up and so on. You can't possibly do that in a primary school without the facilities that we have. Just a reminder about the, if there are any queries academically, then Mrs. Hesse is a first point of contact, but she will probably defer that to a curriculum leader or a head of department if there's any queries about learning, because they're the specialist in that area. So please push them through to us. The one thing that is integral to Ilkley Grammar School is the iPad, and just a plea from me really, if you've not signed up for the iPad scheme, even if you don't intend to get an iPad for us, please can you do that as a matter of urgency. The ICT team have to work through a portal called Eden, and to ensure that there is an iPad ready for the young person for the start in September. please, that needs to be filled in. If you intend to bring your own in, that's fine. Just make sure you fill the form in. I spoke to the ICT team today, and there's 210 people signed up. So that means there's still around 100 people that haven't signed up for us. Please, can those people make sure that you let us know what you want to do? I don't want a situation where we've not got an iPad for them if you decide to enroll on the scheme, or also you're not aware of what we need to do to any iPads that come in. I will talk about the iPad and its functionality and its safeguarding and so on at either the next session or the one after that, because it's a little bit more of a wider conversation. But I just wanted to say it this evening that it is an integral part to Ilkley Grammar School. We've had iPads on site, and it was cutting edge when we took them on. But they're an incredibly useful device to have so close for all sorts of reasons, but communication, for instant access to the internet, and all the other things that the students can use them for. They're also incredibly great for organisation as well, and making sure that, because they've got Outlook on there, so we can communicate with them via email. It can hold their calendar, and so on and so on. So please, if you've not signed up to the Eden portal, can you let us know? If you haven't got the portal link, then email into transition@ilkleygs.co.uk, and we'll get the link to you so we can get it done, so we can ensure that everybody has those things. Just some changes just to finish up here for new things for next year. I'm quite excited about this. Mrs. Capstick is looking at us having a reading curriculum. So what we're intending to do is to build on all the amazing reading work that they do in primary schools, and that love of reading, and make sure that it kind of works and maintain that we know that reading adds massive value to people's education. And what will happen is 2 or 3 tutor periods each week. They will be read to by their teacher. We've chosen books that most students won't have read, and they're outside the English curriculum as such. They're books that the students will find exciting, and we can actually work together as we go through the school, through Key Stage 3 particularly, that they've read some really key books that will allow them to kind of develop their understanding, their love of reading, their knowledge, their vocabulary, and so on. So just watch out for those sorts of things. We were just discussing it tonight at leadership team, and I was really excited to see that we would be, we'd be looking at a reading curriculum for all of Key Stage 3, which is great. I'm just going to pause there slightly just to say that the next meeting's on Thursday, same time. That's school life and student support. As I said, no one's put any questions in yet. That's either that the questions not working, which I believe it is. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to stay on for several minutes or so. Just buzz them through here. Please do that, so you can prove to me that the chat is working. I did say I'd try and keep these things to kind of half an hour, 45 minutes, because listening to me droning on is probably not the ideal thing that you want to do. But I do genuinely hope you found these useful. So please let me know, and just let me got questions here. Will they all read e-books? If you won't need to buy anything, Mr. Palmer. The school will cover any cost of the books. We're looking at a kind of mix and match at the minute. So Miss Capstick, who's leading on that, we'll sort the books out for them, either ebook or physical book. We're just looking into that. When did they find out? Very good question. When did they find out their class groups? On welcome day. So we will have it formulated by them. I will write a letter to you all so you know what tutor group and band they're in, because I didn't mention that actually. I must mention that. And the tutor groups are broken up into 3 bands, so I, G and S. And the only thing that does affect with regards to uniform is that the PE shirt has either a red, a yellow or a blue flash on the epaulette here. So I will let them know on welcome day on the 14th of July. They will all be in their primary school uniform, so it will be a multicolored day. We do some team building exercises, get to know your tutor, get to know each other, and so on. It's a fun day for them, and to start breaking down those and building those relationships that they need to have. So it'll be on the 14th of July. I will write a letter to you just to make sure that you know that. Has a later start ever been considered to fit with adolescent sleep lessons? Yes, but we've never done it. Mr. Perry, very good question. What's the difference between tutor groups and banding? Okay, so there are 11 tutor groups, and those 11 tutor groups get put into 3 bands. It's really for timetabling purposes, but also for competition in PE. So you really won't know the difference. This year there's 4 groups in I band, 4 groups in S band, and 3 groups in G band. But you'll see that, and I'll explain that and make sure that you know. I'll write a letter to you. It will say your son or daughter is in 7, whatever their code is. This is G band and it is blue kit. Okay, so that's what it will do. So just so you know as parents which one they're in. So it'll be on 14th July. On the welcome evening, the uniform suppliers, I wouldn't mention this on Thursday when we talk about organisation, the uniform suppliers will be there on the evening to talk you through and show you their wares as such. Submit the preference to the transition@ilkleygs.co.uk email address, and we'll pick it up from there. It was in a letter that was sent to you by the head teacher. It was the one that was sent in March. Because we can directly communicate with you now. We can always cut the primary schools out of our communication now. So we've gathered all your email addresses. If you're not getting any emails from us, please try and let us know somehow. If you either ring the school or email from another account or whatever, just to check that we've got your email. If you're not getting anything through at all, like Mrs. Varley sent one through to me today, and I assume that you maybe got that if you're on here now, but please do that. These are great questions. Any more on school organisation and learning? That's what we're here for. I hope it's been useful. I really do. You know, it's a valuable use of my time. First of all, for you to get to know me, and me to explain some of the things. And I just think it eases the whole transition conversation. The next one will be about school life student support systems that we use in school, such as class charts, provision map. I'll talk about parent pay, the iPad, maybe a little bit more. So if there's anything that you need to know. So any others about school organisation and learning? You're very welcome, Mr. Garwell. Okay. I'm gonna, and there's not a huge, please, there'll be another one on Thursday. So if there's anything that you need to know, please keep your questions coming through either to the email account or hold them until Thursday or next Tuesday. It's been really great. There was over 100 of you on there, which, you know, some parents have got plenty of children through there. You mentioned 8:20, 8:20 on site, 8:25 close the gates. Yes, that's right, Mr. Robinson. You've got to be on site. No, not opening. The gates are open from 8 o'clock. But they shut at 8:25. They've got to be on site ideally around 8:20. The buses get here, if they're coming on a bus, the bus arrives around 8:10, 8 o'clock, 8:10, something like that. The trains, I think off the top of my head, I think it's 8:18. So there is time to get up the hill for an 8:25 close. It's a bit tight off the train, but I'm on the gates as other members of the leadership team are. And if there's a delay in the train or the buses or whatever, we do leave them over slightly. The buses, well, they're open. The gates are open well before that. They're open from around 7:45, actually. We just don't want people on site too early. Okay. And if anyone is ever late, and for any reason at all, then you use the front entrance where the tower is, and the students will be let in by the administration team there. So that's not an issue if they've got an appointment or anything like that. Okay. Right, okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. Please, any other questions, pass them through. And the trains arrive when they arrive. That's quite right, yeah. And there's nothing I can do to control Northern Rail. But we're aware of that, and actually we're monitoring the buses and the trains. And if there are trains or buses late for any reason, then we don't give the students any late marks for that. That's not their fault at all. So, you know, we're pretty good with that sort of thing. Okay. Right, everybody, I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your evening, and I will see you on Thursday if you want to join me then for the student life, student support, safeguarding, those sorts of questions, those sorts of things we'll talk about then. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.